Welcome to this new automotive news video for Sunday, June 14th, 2026. Today we're going to talk about a new major issue affecting the new Renault Clio 6 about Peugeot, which has just revealed the prices for its electric 208 under the social leasing program. And some people might be surprised about a European country that fears power outages due to the massive arrival of electric cars. And about China, which has just unveiled an electric car battery capable of lasting 20 years. I hope these topics will interest you. They're the last ones for this week. We'll meet again tomorrow to start a new week of automotive news. In the meantime, feel free to leave a like on this video and boost it to improve its ranking. That's really the most important thing. If you want to support my YouTube channel and the videos I make for you, you can of course subscribe for upcoming videos. And of course, also leave a comment where you share your thoughts on today's news. And you can also share your story there. If you're one of the French people affected by the new problem with the Clio 6, don't hesitate to talk about it and explain how the situation was resolved for you. For years, the Renault Clio has represented the sensible choice, a popular, reliable car seen everywhere on French roads. For many people, buying a Clio meant buying a car that would help you avoid problems. Yet, just a few months after its commercial launch, the new Clio 6 is already facing several problems. There's one we've already talked about before. It's a bug in the car's electronic system that causes the hybrid not to work properly. And the car's fuel consumption is much higher than what Renault announced. But now the Clio 6 is the victim of another problem, a plague that also affected the Renault Clio 5, namely the theft of car parts. Specifically, we're talking about owners who report that their Clio 6 was stripped during the night. Unfortunately, this is something that affected quite a few models from the previous generation at Renault, especially the Clio 5 and the Megane, whose owners would sadly wake up one morning to find their car on blocks, with a whole bunch of equipment ripped out. The Clio 6 is following the same path. So why the Clio? Well, just like the previous generation of Clio, it's a car that's still quite popular, so its parts become pretty sought after, and especially pretty easy to sell on the black market. The network specialized in car theft know this perfectly well, and with the arrival of several thousand Clio 6s on our roads, criminals have simply found a new source of income. The problem with these new modern cars, because it's true, we're using the Clio 6 as an example here, but it's really a plague for a whole bunch of models, is that the parts are extremely expensive. A simple example. The headlights now on modern cars like the Clio 6 are LED headlights that cost several €100 each. Some people would rather help themselves to parts from cars parked on the street than buy one from the dealership. Indeed, the headlights are among the most stolen parts on the Clio 6. The headlights, the wheels. But that's something we unfortunately see on almost all models. But there's also another specialty that was already common back in the days of the Clio 5, namely the theft of backup cameras and various exterior sensors, which are very small and unfortunately very easy to remove. It's the same with the headlights. You may see photos of the Clio 6 with the headlights just ripped out. All these are parts that aren't that big, can be ripped out in just a few minutes, and in the end are worth several thousand euros once they're put up for sale on different sites, like Le Bon Coin, for example. The consequences for the owners of these Clio 6s are twofold, and they're doubly annoying. Because first of all, if you wake up one morning and your car has no more wheels or no more headlights, it's pretty hard to drive it around. And second, it drives insurance premiums way up. Insurance premiums were the reason why the Clio 5S were so expensive to insure. For small cars that aren't even that powerful, it's really a big problem. The insurance companies know that there are very high risks with these models, and they simply increase the insurance premiums to cover the risk. So the risk for Clio 6 owners is actually twofold. First, they could end up with a car they can't use from one day to the next. Second, they might have to pay higher insurance premiums. And that affects everyone who owns a Clio 6, even if they might never actually be affected by theft. Obviously, given the problems Renault has had with its latest generations of vehicles, you might have thought that special attention would have been paid to security and anti-theft measures for these components. But on the other hand, we can imagine that it's not an easy task either, especially for cars that are supposed to be inexpensive. As soon as you increase security, you also increase the price. After this bad news for Clio 6 owners, let's move on to an announcement that could directly affect your wallet. Indeed, it's now Peugeot's turn to go on the offensive in the field of social leasing. The government is reopening the program in mid-July 2026, and French manufacturers are already looking to attract future beneficiaries. To achieve this, Peugeot is counting on its flagship model, probably its most popular one, the electric 208. Peugeot has just opened pre-reservations with an offer starting at €149 per month, a particularly aggressive offer aimed at competing with the prices that Renault announced for its rival, the Renault 5 Electric, which was announced as part of the 2026 social leasing program, starting at €139 per month. In detail, Peugeot's offer is based on a 36-month lease, or 3 years if you prefer, with a limit of 45,000 kilometers, so 15,000 kilometers per year, which is relatively comfortable compared to other brands. Thanks to the public subsidies included in the program, no initial payment is required. So at this price, at €149 per month, what do you actually get? The 208 style trim, which is obviously the entry-level version of the electric model, it still comes with a 10-inch touchscreen compatible with Apple CarPlay, automatic air conditioning, heated electric mirrors, as well as a rear parking sensor, hoping that the one on the 208 gets stolen less often than the one on the Clio 6. For those who want a bit more, for €10 more per month, Peugeot offers the Allure trim, which adds front parking sensors and, most importantly, the iCockpit, Peugeot's signature feature of the past 10 years. In any case, this 208 comes with a 136 horsepower electric motor, paired with a 50 kilowatt-hour battery, offering a claimed range of 363 kilometers, which is about 50 kilometers more than the entry-level Renault 5. Charging is done at 100 kilowatts on a fast charger, which is still relatively shameful in 2026 considering that some European manufacturers are starting to offer more than 350 kilowatts. The onboard charger for home charging is still limited to 7.4 kilowatts on alternating current. If you want to charge faster at home overnight using 11 kilowatt 3-phase charging, you'll need to pay an extra €400. The problem for this E208 is that Renault, for €139 a month, isn't offering the entry-level version of the Renault 5 Electric, but the one with 410 kilometers of range. So it's €10 cheaper per month, with 50 kilometers more range, and on top of that, it has V2G bidirectional technology, which lets you power your house with the electricity stored in the car's batteries, something the Peugeot 208 doesn't offer. The only real advantage the 208 has over the Renault 5 is that it's a bit bigger. It offers more space inside, especially for the rear passengers. That's an argument that could appeal to families or to drivers looking for a more versatile car in terms of size, not in terms of range. Even then, I have to mention quickly that although the 208 is bigger outside and in the cabin, it actually has a smaller trunk. Now we have to see if Peugeot's pricing strategy will be enough to take the lead against the Renault 5 Electric, which is now one of the best-selling cars in France. Speaking of electric cars, you should know that it's a topic that's starting to worry one of our European neighbors. In the Netherlands, the electricity grid operator is sounding the alarm because of the surge in electricity demand related to housing, artificial intelligence, and electric cars. Quite simply, the grid is starting to reach its limits. According to projections, electricity shortages could increase 20-fold by the year 2035, a situation that could force authorities to limit electric car charging to certain hours, or even temporarily reduce their charging power remotely to avoid overloading the grid. Electric cars aren't solely responsible, but their impact is rising quickly. In the Netherlands, they now use 10% of electricity, up from just 3 to 3.5% a few years ago. Some solutions like smart charging and V2G technology, which lets electricity flow from cars to the grid, already exist, but these technologies are not yet widespread. Like it or not, electric cars keep advancing worldwide, including in the Netherlands. Especially in China, where 2 of these giant automotive manufacturers have just unveiled 2 electric car technologies that are ahead of the rest of the world. Indeed, while Europe is still struggling to make electric cars accessible, some countries like China, with manufacturers like Dongfeng, for example, claim they will be able to start mass production of these first solid-state batteries as early as the end of 2026. We're discussing a new generation of batteries that will render all current electric car batteries obsolete. With an energy density of 350 Wh per kilogram, these batteries are extremely resistant to extreme conditions, able to retain an average of 74% of their range in weather, as cold as minus 30 degrees Celsius, which is 30 degrees lower than current batteries. This could either improve the range of electric cars without making them heavier, or improve their range by keeping exactly the same batteries but making them lighter. On the KATL side, they have developed a new sodium battery technology that should withstand 15,000 charges. We're talking about full cycles here, which means that with average use, it's estimated to last 20 years. This pretty much eliminates the risk, and especially the fear of ending up with a completely worn-out used electric car. And finally, the Chinese automotive supplier Pong Power has just developed and presented to the press the electric motor that achieves the highest power density per kilogram in the world. Specifically, we're talking about a motor that's capable of producing 25 kilowatts of power, about 34 horsepower if you prefer that unit, for every 1 kilogram of the motor. That's between 4 and 5 times more than a current traditional motor. The most surprising thing is that the designers claim this motor would be neither more expensive nor more complicated to produce than current motors, with possible commercialization in the very near future. The advantage for car manufacturers is twofold: either offering cars with lighter motors that have the same power, or offering cars that weigh the same but are simply much more powerful, which seems less interesting since we already have electric cars that easily exceed 1,600 horsepower without any problem. Meanwhile, in Europe, we're still selling electric 208s that still use a 400-volt architecture and still charge at 100 kilowatts. What a wonderful world. Anyway, that's it for today's news. I hope you found the video interesting. If you enjoyed it, as usual, I'm counting on you to show your support by leaving a like, subscribing for future videos, and becoming a supporter by clicking the join button below. I'll see you tomorrow for a new week of automotive news. Thank you for watching. Ciao.